YouTube, we got the most painful punishments. Let's peek.
You said something wrong about the church in the Middle Ages, so the Inquisition is after you now. They've used a leather strap to secure a device that looks like a two-way...
Oh my goodness. Okay, we might have some good ideas, bro. This looks absolutely crazy.
A fork with two sharp points on your neck. At first, you tried to keep your head up to lessen the pain, but you couldn't stay like this for long.
Oh my goodness.
The so-called...
Okay, what the helly?
What the hell? What the helly? What the hell?
Bro, is she doing this for fun? Is she letting somebody do this to her for fun, bro? It always be the freaks with the tattoos, bro. Yo, the freakiest shorties always got the tattoos, bro. Bro, she low-key getting off to this, bro.
Heretic's fork wasn't deadly, but made the victim suffer from the tiniest...
That is crazy.
Wound. However, on the scale of pain based on scientific research, this kind of suffering gets only 27 points.
You need good neck to manage? What did you just say?
We should watch Ryan Garcia catch a pred.
Ryan Garcia catch a prey. I think he caught the prey with Vitaly, and if we watch that on Twitch, I'm pretty sure we're banned. Any Vitaly prey catches, we can't watch, bro. We can't watch. He does too much. I think he be slapping him. You know, that's TOS.
This the shit eyes I need.
Facts.
140.
But yeah, we gonna decide. We gonna decide at the end of this which one of these punishments would suit Isaiah, or all of them.
In this video, you'll find out about the worst kind of torture in the history of humankind. So, viewer discretion is advised.
Isaiah,
you have at least a few times in your life been subjected to one of the less obvious kinds of torture. It's just that the executioner wasn't persistent enough when tickling you. In ancient China, this was the primary method of punishing delinquents from noble families, since tickles didn't leave any traces of torture on the body, and the victim was able to recover quite fast if the procedure didn't go too far.
What y'all mean tickles?
In European countries, goats were employed as a torture device. The culprit was tied up, and salty water was poured on their feet to make the animal lick them. What's so bad about that, you might ask?
Animal?
It's just that there's an incredible number of nerve endings in the feet, and the...
We got goats licking feet now? What type of yo, no. Isaiah would most definitely get... I'm saying freak ass punishment. Nah, Isaiah would most definitely get off to this, bro. There's no way.
Goat's rough tongue would irritate them quite a lot. So, after a few hours, the tickling starts inducing not just laughter, but also painful muscle contractions. You lose virtually all control over your body, which causes extreme...
Coochie choochie coo.
Coochie coo is crazy, bro.
Stress, anxiety, and exhaustion.
But then again, I ain't gonna lie, chat. No, I ain't gonna lie though. Have y'all ever had like one of your friends or anybody but like tickle you and it start hurting though? Like, yeah, K-Cat, bro, you get tickled for 10 minutes straight, you just might die. Genuinely, bro. Cause it start hurting after like 30 seconds, bro. Don't lie, bro. Don't lie. Hey, tickling do be hurting sometimes, bro.
The nerve endings responsible for reacting to tickles also signalize pain. It's just that if we're being tickled for fun, and for a short time, our reaction to stress doesn't go beyond laughter and light sensations in the body. However, if done for hours, this causes the nervous system such overload that the lightest touch causes unbearable physical pain. Now imagine that it's not your feet being tickled. It's your private parts.
Wait.
So imagine it's not your feet, but it's your meat. Yo, what was they doing back in the day, bruh? What was they... So you telling me, y'all gonna let a goat lick my meat?
The Diddy Tickle special.
I don't know, bro. I don't know what they was doing back in the medieval times, bro. I don't know. Licking meat is crazy, bro. No, meat licking as a punishment is crazy.
In India, interrogation of criminals was accompanied by placing a small bug on the culprit's genitals and
wait, bugs?
covering the insect with a walnut shell so that it didn't escape. The constant irritation of super-sensitive areas caused by the bug's movements made
the petites had to find a way to the meat.
Yo, that's crazy. Wait, so you telling me, wait.
torture unbearable.
So they will put cups on your meat and just have the termites tickle it? Cups around your nips and have the cockroaches nibble on it? What are they doing back in the day, bruh?
Very quickly, and the executioners got any confession they wanted. Eventually, tickle torture would result in death by asphyxiation if the victim developed a throat spasm caused by uncontrollable laughter. Other possible outcomes were cardiac arrest or a brain aneurysm provoked by serious stress.
Yo, who was creating these punishments back in the day, bro?
32 points since the suffering it brought was mostly psychological. This is very similar to the next kind of torture, the Chinese water torture. At first, the person was immobilized, and then cold water would slowly drip onto their face or head. Gradually.
Bro, these are not the freakiest punishments, bro. I don't know why it started out like that.
Skin irritation caused by the drops and splashes would make the nervous system hypersensitive. The inability to move and the wait for the next drop would literally start driving the person insane.
Oh yeah, we heard about this, but it's like mental torture.
Maybe you've even seen this torture in movies. Here's the paradox though. There's no proof that it was ever used in China. This kind of torture was first described by an Italian lawyer on the cusp of the 16th century. In the mid-18th century...
This something... Wait, no. Why did I say this something Big Craig get off? Man, if you know, you know.
German and French doctors attempted to use this method to cure mental disorders. Moreover, the very term Chinese water torture came into active use owing to a trick by the legendary...
Why are you hanging upside down?
So, does the water drop torture actually work? Since it
I'm lagging.
I better try the goat one to see if it's true. Smirk face, wink face, tickle's own feet.
Bro, stay away from the goats, bruh. Stay away from those goats, bruh. Stay away from those goats. We good? Oh, we good. All right, baby.
Can look harmless at first glance. A few bloggers have dared to try out
your streams and everything you're doing. I can't wait to see your channel grow in the...
I appreciate Mitchell. Is it Mitchell or Michelle? Appreciate it, twin. I ain't gonna lie, chat. We do got I ain't gonna lie, the second channel is growing. We going dumb on that channel. 2 uploads today. We at 3,200 subs, bro. I expect 10K before the end of the summer. No cap.
Themselves. The water drop torture was also tested by the Mythbusters. All participants knew they were actually perfectly safe and could be freed at any moment. Yet everyone went through a hellish experience. At first, the experimenters suffered from cold, thirst, psychological tension, and physical discomfort. Then, their entire bodies started aching, and breathing problems arose. It all ended in a panic and desperate pleas to be released.
That is the worst.
In addition, after this episode, the Mythbusters received an anonymous letter whose authors reportedly found out that the Chinese water torture may cause mental issues that persist for 20 hours. So on the pain scale, the water drop torture received 40 points, and a huge question as to whether it was actually used in practice. At least because it was replaced by water torture.
Wait, is that
waterboarding? Was the Swedish drink. This name was invented by the Germans. During the 30 Years' War, they became victims of the Swedish army servicemen, mercenaries, or marauders. This method of torture went as follows. Through a funnel, the perpetrators would pour buckets of the most disgusting liquids imaginable into the victim's throat. They used everything from urine and filth to manure and feces. This was the Swedes' way of torturing the civilians.
What?
Filth to manure and feces.
Urine, filth, manure, and feces? Oh, is that really that? I ain't gonna lie, bro. Drink that or get the honestly, I don't know. That might not be as worse as the tickle torture. I ain't gonna lie. I might throw up, but I don't think you would die.
To force them to give up their money or food. Not only did the victims feel disgust and humiliation from being subjected to the Swedish drink, they also contracted deadly diseases. Furthermore, their stomachs stretched, causing horrific pain. The perpetrators would often use wooden planks to put pressure on the victim's bloated belly or hit it with sticks to deepen the suffering.
Yo, that's
So,
crazy.
on the pain scale, the Swedish drink got 46 points out of the possible
46 points?
140. Very often, one kind of torture ranged from public humiliation, accompanied by intense discomfort, to a death punishment with unbearable suffering. One of such hellish inventions was the
Lag?
Kang.
Bro, we lagging
It's a
again?
large-
One in chat if we not lagging. Zamora, I think it's just you lagging, twin. One in chat, man. One in chat. Nah. No. Bro, y'all just capping, right?
Board consisting of two halves
I
with
gotta
a hole
record it just
between
in
them,
case.
used to keep the device on a person's neck. The Kang wasn't secured in any way, so the culprit had to support the board with their hands and balance it while walking. To intensify the punishment, the person in a Kang could also
What
be
in the
chained,
world?
stopping them from ever sitting down. Moreover, the Kang's parameters would change according to the severity of the punishment. It could weigh
Wait.
anywhere from 9 to 15 kilograms and have a square, rectangular, or disproportionate, irregular shape. Sometimes they were even double or triple. Often a Kang would be so large that the
this supposed
victim
to
would
hurt?
be unable to touch their face to eat or drink. If they weren't helped by those who cared, the victim would die a slow death of hunger and thirst. Yet the
this
Kang
is
was
like a
also used
starvation
as
type
an
of thing.
execution device. The convict was placed inside a tall cage made specifically for this purpose. A Kang would be secured above. Then, a prop would be taken from under the victim's feet, and they would slowly be strangled with the
Oh,
board
so this
on
like
their
a
neck.
okay.
That's how people were executed in China
getting
as
choked to
recently
death,
as
yeah, that's
1900, suffering excruciating pain. On the pain scale, Kang torture sits at 62 points. However, even this horror is far from being the worst thing people ever came up with. Europeans during the Middle Ages were especially creative in their acts of cruelty.
I don't know, bro.
It was then that they
Ain't nothing on
invented
here
and
worse than the
actively
sack,
used
though,
a
so
contraption
far.
called the Judas Cradle. It's a
Cradle.
spiky wooden or metal pyramid secured on a support with a special clamp over it. First, the victim's arms and legs were tied, and then their trunk was secured with a metal ring attached to the ceiling or the wall
Okay.
with ropes. After this, the person was slowly seated on the pyramid's sharp point.
Oh,
I won't go into the horrific anatomical detail.
Oh my goodness.
Wait.
We're putting a whole pyramid inside bro cheeks? Bro, why did they do everything to these folks naked, bruh? Now this is diabolical, bruh. This might be something we need to look into for Isaiah, bruh. I ain't gonna lie, this is crazy. Chat,
Since
y'all
it's
see
clear-
how, bro, y'all see how pointy that is,
What
bro?
is this pyramid scheme?
Pyramid scheme is crazy, bro. Nah, this is insane, bro. This is insane.
Anyway, that the process caused unbearable pain.
Oh my
Moreover,
goodness.
such torture could go on for days. If the
Days?
executioners wanted to receive a confession or other information, but the victim remained silent, they tied weights to their arms and legs, causing the pyramid edges to
Oh
knot
my
at the four
goodness! Bro, no. I'm confessing, bro. It's no way. Bro, it's no way I wouldn't confess. Yo, this is crazy.
body even more.
This is
As if
crazy.
that wasn't enough, the Judas
Lusa, yo, that's crazy.
Cradle was never cleaned, so it became the
Never clean!
breeding ground for deadly bacteria. So, even if the victim
So you got everybody booty kookamungus fungus on it? And it's just going up mine after the next, bro? Bro, people is dead dying on that with all they booty juice, and you just throwing that in the next man. But they was living crazy, bro. I can't even cap.
victims managed to survive, they often died of infections.
Yo, my
At any rate,
eyes.
they remained scarred physically and psychologically for the rest of their lives.
Oh yeah, bro.
That's
I
why the
couldn't imagine
Judas
living after
Cradle
that.
received
That's
79
100
points on the
That's only a
pain
79?
crossing the midpoint. However, the first device to go beyond 100 in our list is the Oubliette. It's a horizontal tunnel
Oubliette.
with the only way out in the form of a grated opening above, used as a dungeon. Often, It was so narrow that the prisoners couldn't even sit down. Moreover, oubliettes were built right there in the castle so that the victims could hear human voices and smell the food, causing them even more psychological suffering.
They didn't even say what an oubliette is.
The real torture was the fact that the prisoners were literally forgotten about in these holes, and they slowly died of thirst, hunger, exhaustion.
Well, wait, this not that bad though, chat. Would you rather this, the oubliette? Just get, I guess, what is this like? What's that joke called? Get put in a hole, basically like they do in prison. This or the whatever the last one was, bro.
And infections. Compared to this, a Judas Cradle execution was a swift way to relieve one's suffering. The oubliette is a kind of imprisonment, which has been practiced since ancient times on all continents. In the Roman Empire, the most influential Vestals who had broken their virginity pledge were sentenced to death. It was against the law to shed their blood, though. So they were immured alive, fated for a slow, desperate death. If you think this insane practice remained in days past,
that is crazy, though.
You're wrong. In Mongolia,
imagine you die like, just like of starvation, no food, no water. That is a slow, painful death.
Barbaric execution method was still in use until at least 1913. So imprisonment in its different variations receives 108 points on the pain scale. But what if you're not alone in this closed space? Then it's an entirely different kind of punishment.
Wait, what?
Rat torture. As far back as in the 1st century AD, the cruelest emperor in the history of the Roman Empire, Nero, used rats to torture those who fell out of favor. They say he put the victim into a barrel with hungry rats who quickly ate the person alive.
Ate them alive? Alright, this might be worse than the sack, bro. Hold on.
In India, they made criminals wear wide pants, which were first tied around the ankles and then filled with rodents.
Yo.
Any ideas as to which body parts suffered the most and how painful it was? However, medieval torturers took it even further. They tied the victims down to immobilize them, then placed a bottomless cage on their abdomens and filled it with rats. Then they put hot wood coal on the grates, and the rats became unbearably hot. First, they tried gnawing at the
so the rats started just clawing at their... So the rats got inside of them!
In desperate attempts to escape. Later, though, the rats realized they were standing on a soft human body and started eating their way out through it. Sometimes the cage was put on the victim's head or other body parts.
Wait, no way!
Your imagination.
Ain't no way!
The most horrible thing is probably the fact that in South American countries, rat torture was in use until the 1980s. It received 112 points on the pain scale.
Nah, that gotta be
it would
like
seem that there's nothing worse than
rats eating through your face.
Before we get to the most horrifying tortures that scored the maximum of 140 points, there are still 2 more devices. The first of which is the rack.
The rack.
This is another deadly invention of the Middle Ages. It looked like a wooden frame with rollers on both ends. The person's limbs were
were they pulling their body parts limb from limb?
And when the torturers would start turning the rollers, the victim's arms and legs would stretch in different directions. This caused unbearable pain due to joint displacement, muscle and ligament ruptures, and, in the most horrific cases, even bone fractures. The executioners could torture the victim like this for hours or even days to beat the confession or the necessary information out of them. Sometimes, a specifically trained person would supervise the victim's condition to keep them conscious and alive before a specific time. So, it's unsurprising that just threatening someone to send...
Hey, drop the bear. Go ahead, ban that nigga, bro. Ban, drop the bear. Get that nigga going, bro. First nigga ban today, bro. Go ahead, get it going. I wouldn't say 600 seconds, but since your first time seeing you, you got 5 messenger chats, get him banned. Send him to the gulag.
...to the rack would often be enough to obtain the necessary information. This horrible type of torture received 116 points on the pain scale. However, citizens of ancient Greece managed to outperform even the cruelty of medieval European torturers, being the creators of one of history's most terrifying torture devices, the Brazen Bull.
Brazen Bull.
According to stories, it was built by an Athenian named Perilos as a commission for a Sicilian tyrant.
I think I heard of this. I think it was supposed to get inside the bull and it just burned it.
It was a hollow copper statue of a bull with a hatch on its side. A person would be pushed inside, the hatch would be shut, and then the torturers would start a fire under the bull's belly.
So you get
Furthermore,
cooked
the
alive.
statue's nostril structure made the victim scream.
I'll be
sound
his
like
lawyer.
the
We don't
bull's
need no
bellow.
lawyer, twin.
Yet this barbarism
What?
was apparently not enough.
Wait, what did I just hear, bruh?
Belly. Furthermore, the statue's
Zay,
nostril
I think
structure
we watched this one.
Oh no, we ain't seen this one. I think they might have some of the same ones, but no, we ain't seen this one.
made the victim's scream sound like the bull's bellow. Yet this
Bro, what is that sound effect they just used? Bro, what?
barbarism was apparently not enough. So after the execution, the victim's bones were used to make jewelry to then be sold on markets. The inventor of this hellish machine realized very quickly that doing business with tyrants was a bad idea.
That
Since
is
the
not
first
bull,
person
bro, that sounded like Dreamy Bull. That did sounded like Dreamy Bull, bro.
Baller has tried out the Brazen Bull on was Perilous himself. First, the man's skin started burning in the places where it touched the metal. Then, the hot air gradually burned his airways and lungs. He went on to slowly cook alive before choking to death or going unconscious. Before this, though, Perilous went through the agony that reached 130 points on the pain scale.
Damn!
Even this horror, though, won't compare to the fate of those sentenced to Lingchi. It's definitely one of the most barbaric punishments in humanity's entire history. And it hails from Asia. It was used in China, Vietnam, and Korea right until the early 20th century to punish perpetrators of the most heinous crimes like mass murder and high treason, as well as to eradicate the emperor's personal enemies. It comes as no surprise since the victim would be tied to a pole in a crowded space to turn the execution into public humiliation. Then, a few torturers would slowly cut pieces of flesh out of the convict's arms, legs, and chest.
Oh, nah.
We know from historical records that during Lingchi, the victim would suffer from 100 to 3,000 wounds. That's why this torture is also dubbed death by 1,000 cuts. Although the experts state that with such wounds, a person would most likely die within 20 minutes. Sometimes the families of the victims would bribe the executioners to inflict a deadly wound right away.
Damn!
This wouldn't remove the victim's physical pain, but it's worth
imagine, bro. Imagine the punishment being so bad, bro. You just, I mean, yeah. I'd rather go through with a, gunshots can't hurt as much as cutting the skin.
Remembering that for the Chinese, Lingchi was also a spiritual punishment. According to their beliefs, this disfigurement of the body wouldn't allow the victim to be whole and healthy in the afterlife. This horrific execution method officially remained in use in China until 1905. This type of torture received the most points on the pain scale. 140.
Damn.
I told you all this exclusively for educational purposes and to tickle your nerves. But I hope it didn't reach torture level. If you enjoy experiencing extreme sensations without putting yourself in danger, you'll find many exciting videos on my channel.
Yeah, bro, WV, bro, hey chat. Out of all those torture methods, bro, which one y'all think will be best fitting for Isaiah? You two, y'all let me know too, bro. Low key, bro, I feel like we gotta get, bro, with the what's it called, bro? We gotta get, bro, low key the Rat John, yeah, the Rat John, or either the. Nah, I do feel like low key he would enjoy the Oubliette. I think that's what that deal was called, bro. Nah, 5 bid though, 5 bid.